Hey guys, it's Monica, and in this video I'm going to share with you why I changed my mind about natural childbirth. Coming from a totally Western RN medical perspective to getting back to the basics and relearning about childbirth from a different lens. If you're new, I post new videos twice a week on peaceful parenting, healthy living, and life with little ones, and would love for you to subscribe to the channel. Okay, so if you would have asked me 10 years ago if I was planning to have a hypnobirth, I would have probably looked at you like you were crazy. I remember being in nursing school during my labor and delivery rotation and thinking, when I have my baby and I get pregnant, I'm gonna tell them, okay, sign me up for all the drugs, I don't want to feel anything. I am not a pain person. I have a very low pain threshold, I think, and I wanted no part of that natural birth experience, and I didn't understand why anybody would choose to suffer like that. And I just thought that that whole notion was crazy, because why suffer when you can just have an elective C-section at 37 weeks and not feel anything? Now, in my defense, this was in a time and not that long ago where this was allowed and was kind of the norm in a lot of hospitals. So thank God, as a nation, we've made some progress in terms of what is and isn't medically appropriate, and have shifted some of our beliefs and understanding of what makes for a healthy baby and mom. And since then, I've also gained more knowledge and educated myself about natural childbirth. The thing is, Western medicine is amazing in that we are able to fix a lot of problems. Sometimes Western medicine can be more generalized as sick care versus health care, because often it's about finding and fixing problems or issues. But childbirth is not an illness and doesn't typically require medical intervention. Sometimes it does, for sure, and when things go poorly, we are so fortunate and lucky to have trained professionals to help us in those instances where something really is wrong and our lives or our baby's lives are in jeopardy. But it's also true that childbirth is a very natural experience that usually doesn't require a whole lot of extra. This is what our bodies were designed to do, and do well. So what opened me up to this whole mind shift was actually a really random occurrence early on in my pregnancy with my first child. So I love watching documentaries and reading books, and when I'm starting something new, I deep dive into that subject and try to learn as much as I can about it. So naturally, when I got pregnant, I took another deep dive and tried to learn everything that I could about that too. And this was after I had gotten diagnosed with POTS and made the shift towards a more natural lifestyle. So I was thumbing through Netflix and ran across this documentary by Ricky Lake. And it was a really eye-opening experience for me, which was kind of crazy to me considering all of the years that I spent working in the NICU and L&D as a nurse. But in those experiences, I was only involved in the medical part of it and was trained to see and fix problems. I didn't have a whole lot of experience with just normal, healthy pregnancies and babies. A lot of nurses and medical professionals will actually gravitate towards more complex and tougher cases because it's more of a challenge. And when you do this, and especially in the NICU, when you see like the tiniest percentage of things that can go wrong or things that can happen, but that's all you see for the most part, then your perspective starts to get a little bit skewed. And that's what happened to me. But this documentary put me on a different side of childbirth and really helped me to see my bias and expand my own view of what childbirth is and can be. So this led me to a book by Ina May Gaskin called Ina May's Guide to Childbirth, and my view expanded again. Instead of seeing childbirth from this Western perspective of this kind of scary, horribly painful, excruciating process filled with screams and horror, I was presented with new information. And it was actually really empowering to realize what our bodies were capable of. I loved this book so much, and it gave me the confidence to go into childbirth believing that this was a natural process. My body knew what it was doing. Women have been doing this for millennia, and I could too. This all led me to finding a program called Hypno Babies, which was amazing and fantastic, and I will do a whole video on that as well. And this gave me even more information and showed me that childbirth doesn't have to be painful, and in fact it can be comfortable and easy. I learned about the fear, tension, pain cycle, which I had never heard of before. I think the biggest lesson that I gained from this was eliminating fear. With my first, I ended up being induced and having to get an epidural, which I don't regret in the least, and I was able to go into my second pregnancy still without fear, and I was able to have an unmedicated and natural birth. And I ended up having really positive experiences with both, and I attribute so much of that to everything that I learned when I expanded my view. You can check out my other videos on my experiences with epidural versus my unmedicated birth, as well as my children's birth stories and hypnobabies experiences as well. Okay, I will leave below all of the resources, books, movies, everything that I use to help expand my view and educate myself and give me the confidence to go into my births with no fear and have really positive experiences. I am so grateful for these bits of knowledge that these women have shared and passed on to me, and hope you find them inspiring and useful too. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.